Good evening and welcome to Simsport Racing International's GT3 Championship, round 6 from Silverstone of season 4. So we are coming into the penultimate round. There is the race tonight at Silverstone and then our final round in 2 weeks' time at Suzuka. So it is starting to get to the point where it is all to play for. And tonight it is the turn of our Tier 2 guys for Silver and AM classes to take on the historic Silverstone track. The championship it's a spicy one. Really is. I absolutely love watching Tier 2 racing from our drivers. Then they have just been pulling out all of the stops and giving us fantastic racing throughout the past few weeks. But before we take a look at the championship standings, let's say a warm hello to our my partner in crime, Chris Hill, who's going to be manning the cameras and helping me out in the comms box this evening. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Sam. Are you
Good
well?
evening. I am well. Have you recovered from our mega 24-hour charity race this past weekend, which
Oh,
you
yes.
did the entirety of?
Oh, yes. I'm fresh as a daisy. And
Good
if
to
you
hear
believe
it.
that, you'll believe anything.
Most
Yes,
important thing is you enjoyed it, didn't you?
absolutely. It was a fantastic event. We raised just over £6,000 for the Christie. Obviously, a worthwhile cause. And I think everybody that's. I've not seen any negative comments, put it that way,
No.
about the event, which is always pleasant.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a really great event. Really good fun to commentate. I mean, and I kind of cherry picked the opening and ending stints, and I've got to say, I think I picked the best stints to commentate on. We had, an epic start to the race. Everybody going absolutely hell for leather, which is unusual for a 24-hour endurance race. And then also super unusual for an endurance race. We had a change of lead position for the absolute lead coming into the last 15 minutes of the race and still having quite a number of battles on track for positions. So yeah, and anyone who missed it, definitely go on to the YouTube channel and take a look at the 3 streams that we did over the course of the weekend. But especially then the first and the third, absolutely fantastic racing to catch up on. So, with our GT3 championship, as I said, this is the penultimate round. So, let's take a look at how the championship standings are shaping up. And we're going to start with our AM class. If you were with me for the stream 2 weeks ago, our AM class was in a deadlock for a 3-way tie for first position. Now, that all changed last week. Frank Hopp taking then the win at Watkins Glen last round out, has now broken that 3-way tie, and he's given himself a nice, comfortable 4-point lead coming into tonight's race, followed very closely by Router Vince and Aaron van der Linden in P3. Who is currently 8 points behind Routers. So still really close. There's only 12 points in the top 3 classes. And don't forget, we've got a drop round to take into account. So I will be working out all of the calculations for those drop rounds for then the next stream so that we can see exactly what the impact is going into that final race at Suzuka. But over in our silver class, this is just as interesting, and this is something that we don't see very often in multi-round championships like this. 5 rounds in, and we have had 5 separate winners across the entire championship so far. So, and again, quite tight between our first and second place. So Sebastian Renal currently sitting in P1, 4 points ahead of Timo Zidek, and then a bit of a further gap with a 17-point drop down to P3, currently held by Dennis Meader. So again, we've got this drop round to take into account for next race. And this is going to start having, a considerable effect. So some drivers have missed rounds, and basically it means that they kind of get a bye. Whereas, and other drivers who have, turned up consistently race after race, they are going to have points to lose. So this is all going to change, all going to shake up for our final round out at Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. So, I do believe that qualifying has started. Drivers are just starting to get some installation laps underway. Have had some rain in the free practice just before we came live. So the weather is definitely going to play a factor in this race this evening. 60-minute race, I should say. So pit strategies are going to be mandatory tires. So this is going to bring in our standard pit strategies of most drivers coming in bang on the halfway mark, maybe a couple of laps earlier, a couple of laps back, depending on traffic damage. If they're in a battle, they may attempt an overcut or an undercut. But we should see the majority of our drivers pitting at the halfway mark because they do have to take tires as mandatory. Chris, I didn't ask you before we came on air. Do we have a aerial track guide prepared for Silverstone?
I thought you'd never ask. Just bear with me, please. I shall get that up.
Please hold caller.
Your call is important to us.
Yes. That's quick.
Obviously,
right.
not me driving.
Coming down the Hamilton Straight into the brand new. Hang on, no.
No, it's the old circuit.
No, so we're coming out of Cops, down through the beautiful winding Maggots and Becketts. This is an absolutely iconic set of corners. Really, really fun way when you get it right. Can be a bit of a ball ache if you get it wrong. Very, very easy to lose time here. And then coming out of Chapel down onto the Hangar Straight. Nice long straightaway, but it is very, very bumpy coming down here. Got to pick your braking point really carefully coming into Stowe. This corner has been reprofiled quite a number of times through the history of the Silverstone circuit. Little bit of a kink in the road coming into Vale, and then we come into the Vale chicane, which if you get right, you can come quite wide and out here. If you get it wrong, very, very easy to catch the inside curb on Club. To bring you down into the Hamilton Straight. And this is where we go into the brand new infield section of Silverstone that was opened in 2010 through Abbey, down into Farm, and then we come into the tight, awkward corner of Village. Very, very short squirt down into the left-hand corner of the loop. If you get this corner right, it means that you can get on the power straight away and not have to lift too much for Aintree before coming down onto the infamous Wellington Straight, which we will see probably quite a number of overtakes coming down into this section into Brooklands, where we join the original track down into the sweeping, very, very long, never-ending Luffield, where you've got pit entry just on the left-hand side, and then the sweeping corner that you should be able to take completely flat out of wood coat back onto the start-finish straight. So Chris, we were discussing this a little bit before we came on air of just how much tinkering has been done to this track over the years. I mean, Silverstone, one of the oldest tracks in the UK. Again, another converted World War II bomber airfield. It took them only 2 years to convert it from a military air station into the track that we have today in its various guises. But over the years, it's been changed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times. This track has been amended and tinkered and changed. And one of the things that surprised me is that the start-finish line has been moved 3 times since this track opened. Yeah, so very, very. Wait, you were discussing. You were saying, Chris, how the times that you've been to this track to watch Formula One and not realizing how much the track had changed.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't sort of think about for some strange reason. I first went in 1989 to watch what was called Grand Prix then, not Formula One, and watching the likes of Senna, Mansell, Berger, a few other famous people that I can't quite remember the names off the top of my head, Patrese, Piquet. I went 1989, 1991, and my lasting memory of Silverstone is sitting on the banking at Beckett's, and Senna broke down at Beckett's and was walked away from his car and was sort of in front of us. I was a few rows back, but he was in front of us, so I managed to get some good pictures of the legend. But we were all booing and laughing at him, which is strange because I think we were all Mansell fans at the time. So yeah, I vaguely remember some of the changes as I discussed with you, and then when you look at the map you showing all the changes, a lot of them come back to you and go, oh yeah, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that.
Yeah. So when anyone who's interested in looking at this, there is a fantastic overlay map that's been created that you can find on the Wikipedia page for Silverstone Circuit. Scroll down to the bottom. They've got this really, really great color-coded map showing all of the changes that have happened to the circuit over the years. And yeah, it really, really interesting, really fascinating to take a look at. So yeah, and have a look at that once we finish our stream. And for now, let's go take a look at some qualifying times.
Your wish is my command.
So the big question, the weather. Okay, currently showing as partly sunny. Track is fast, so we're not going to see quite the fastest, the fast times that we saw in the midweek practice. But no surprise, Andy King up at the top of the leaderboard, currently with a 158.8. And be interesting to hope that he gets a much better start than he did at Watkins Glen. But boy, did he give us a fantastic race to watch. That last first run in our last round out was just epic. Really, really exciting to watch. So hopefully...
I've got some news for you about Andy King.
Okay.
At 7:30 UK time, which is only like 15 minutes ago, yeah?
Yeah, about that.
They've just had a power cut.
Oh no!
So people are talking about whether he's going to do a last to first challenge again. But it looks like he's back up and stable at the moment, as you can see.
Yep, so he's in the server, is looking relatively stable in terms of his ping, so pretty much nothing showing there at all. So fingers crossed that that all stays on the straight and narrow for him. And yeah, so let's have a look at some of our other drivers. So staying our AM class leader at the minute, Frank Hopp. Um, Currently P3 in AM, having done about 5 laps, doing a 2-minute 0.5 at the minute, so a tenth off of Aaron van der Linden, and about a tenth and a half off our current AM leader, Steve Parker. Looks like Steve Parker and Frank Hopp have been kind of trading fastest laps back and forth through the throughout the week. Steve Parker managing to top the midweek timing board for AM class. He managed a 1:58.6 midweek. That's obviously going to be on a optimum track with optimum conditions, but Frank Hopp, I think, well, one of the standout drivers for me this season. He's just improved so much over last season, and for that matter, Steve Parker and as well. I remember racing with Steve a couple of seasons ago, and he's another one who has really improved, and then I wouldn't be too surprised if either or both of those drivers were promoted up to the silver class for the next round.
Should have stayed on board with Frank. He's just gone a bit faster.
Oh, excellent! And up to P9 for Frank Hopp. Really great improvement for him. Putting in a silver driver between himself and Steve Parker. So a really good chunk of time gained, and it is actually on track to improve and again already 3/10 up on the time that he had just posted. However, I do believe that he has gone.
Yeah, I think he's invalidated.
He has invalidated, as it should be pronounced.
Depends where you're from.
So, I've just noticed McFriedlich just put in the track. Does SRI use the custom BOP like LFM? Not this season. It's something that we may be considering for future seasons, but at the minute, because this championship started before all of the custom BOP tables were released, when we're keeping everything on an even playing field, not changing things any mid-season. So no, we are not using the custom BOP at the minute. And Sem also coming in and informing me that SGP currently doesn't support it, so not something that we will be doing unless that changes. That's good to know. I didn't know that. Thanks, Sam.
Neither did I. I'm supposed to, though.
Well, things that we're supposed to know, and things that we actually know that tend to often differ quite a bit. So, right, let's see who else is en route to improve. Walter Vince currently 3/10 up on his time, and this will put him better up to P13. Yeah, I was just working that out in my head as it clicked over. So yeah, good couple of places in improvement for Router. Arn van Drunen, currently not showing as being up on his time, but has now just crossed over the line and has improved into P4. So that's a nice improvement there for the CBSR number 16 Mercedes. Quite a nice livery on that car as well, actually.
Yeah, they've run a similar livery for quite a number of years in the Endurance Championship and the GT3 or GT4. I don't think he's actually done GT4, so I don't know why I said that bit. The GT3 championships have passed.
Yeah, it's a nice livery. It's
Nice,
busy but still being
nice contrasting
understated.
colours.
Yeah, yeah. I've always been quite a fan of the blended color changes. So we jump on board with Iridius Parties. I'm never really sure if I'm actually pronouncing his first name correctly, but from Alpha Sim Racing, currently sitting in P10. He's currently 6/10 up on his time, so this is going. If he keeps this all nice and within track limits, that is going to put him up to P7. So a nice, comfortable improvement for Iridius there, as he just comes off the track to jump back to the pits. Router Vrins, currently 3/10 up, currently in P17, and this should give him a couple of places, although he has just dropped off some of that time. But he's still got about half a lap to get that time back.
Chances are this is going to be his last lap as well, so he does need to make the
Yep.
improvement now.
He definitely does. Just like we've got 30 seconds left in qualifying, and I've got to say, one of my favorite liveries, and probably a lot of people's favorite liveries, a nod to the old classic Golf livery. Really, really great to see coming back out. Although unusual to see it on a Ferrari. I don't think a Ferrari has ever run the Golf livery in real life, but it actually quite suits the car quite well, I think.
I think it does, yeah. But
does.
I've never seen that livery on a bad car.
No, it does seem to just suit everything, doesn't it?
Yes.
But Wouter is on a absolute mission. Currently 8/10 up on his time and improving. So this should be a good collection of places for him. This is then the end of qualifying, so we've had the checkered flag. It's just coming out of Brooklands now, around the loop of Nuffield. It's quite easy to get a track limit violation coming through Woodcote if you cut that line just a little bit too much, but you've got to cut it in order to get a good time. But as he crosses the line, that brings him.
He doesn't
He
improve.
invalidated. So it looks like he went just a little bit too wide at Woodcote, and doesn't improve. Stays P17.
Ooh. Frans van der Linden here, half a second up.
And that will be enough to challenge for pole as well. Where is Andy? Andy is behind him. The next car back on track.
Well, he's 0.7 down on this lap.
And decreasing. So Frans van der Linden's got a very, very good chance here of stealing pole position. Still 4/10 up. And again, goes in. He's lost a massive time, and bails. So I think it looks like he started losing his time at Brooklands. Very, very, very difficult corner to get right. But that is qualifying. Was it just me, or did that qualifying go by really, really quickly?
It went by really quickly because we were talking about the Silverstone track and reminiscing far too long, I think. So sorry all you viewers in YouTube, they're expected to see some qualifying laps. Once Sam and I get together, we just can't stop talking.
I know. But I mean, it's Silverstone. It is one of the most probably one of the most iconic tracks in the world. You know, and everybody knows Silverstone. You know, when you think of a traditional British track, Silverstone is what everybody thinks of. So you know, it's one of those tracks that is just steeped in history, and there's just so much to talk about. So yeah, apologize to YouTube land, but at least we stopped nattering long enough to show you some qualifying footage.
Oh dear. What are we like?
I know. I know. Right. So, let me know when you have the starting grid ready.
I will do. It's not yet.
Right. So, everybody watching in YouTube, give me your predictions before we jump onto the grid. Is it going to be dry or is it going to be wet? So we had some rain in free practice before we clicked over to qualifying. So what's your predictions? Are we going to be wet, dry start, or if it's a dry start, are we going to have rain mid-race? It's all going to be really, really interesting, and I think this race is going to be dictated by the rain. Usually is. So, Frank Hopp, multitasking, being in the server and also being in YouTube, hoping for dry. Sam saying that it's going to snow.
He's not far from the truth. In reality, it feels freezing here.
It does feel freezing, yeah. But Mullard, it's going to be moist. I hate that word. Moist. It's just one of those words that no matter how you say it, it just always sounds wrong and, you know, slightly dirty.
I think that also depends on your mind, Sam, though.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, you know, says a lot, doesn't it?
I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to cause offence. Honest.
Not even a white picket one.
Not even a white picket one. That was my joke, that. Go and get your own.
Ah, get it. You always steal the best ones.
Sam's making a bit of a point there.
Yes, I know. Yeah. In all capitals as well. Thank you very much, Sam. Much appreciated.
Are you ready for a grid walkthrough-ish?
I am ready for a grid walk.
You'll be surprised to hear I am too.
Woohoo! Okay, so on the front row, Andy King taking that pole position with Franz van der Linden, giving it his best to seal it, but not quite managing it. Row 2, we've got Ike Choos lining up alongside Aaron van Drunen. In P5, we have Sebastian Rienel, and P6, Timo Zidek. Following row, we've got Mick Shellikens lining up alongside Auricius Parties. And then in P9, we've got Johan Planis alongside our M-Class pole sitter, Steve Parker. On row 6, we've got Frank Hopp lining up alongside Aaron van der Linden. And then behind them, we've got Wouter Vince alongside Peter Brockland. Then in P15, Wouter Bilsma with a not-so-great qualifying and a newcomer to the championship, Michael Huzenga. I do hope that I am pronouncing that correctly. And then on the back row of the grid, we have Wouter van der Wert and Jesse van Driel. What do we know about Michael Huzenga, Chris?
I can just tell you he's from Sim Racing Holland.
Okay.
He's joined tonight in the McLaren GT. I forgot what it is, GT3 Evo, 720 GT3 Evo, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
That's about it.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
You got nothing. That's about all we know. Okay, so this it could end up being a bit of an academics of pigeons. I mean, that we've got 2 rounds left, um, but potential that Michael could get relatively decently up the points order by the end of the championship. So, if you're thinking of joining in for a last minute race. There are spaces, so come join us for our final round at Suzuka in 2 weeks' time.
Talking of
And
joining us,
you stole my leeway.
well, you stole my joke before.
Fine. Well, go on then.
No, you carry on. I don't want to be accused of being an Oliver thief.
Fine. So joining us in the commentary box.
I'm actually here.
Oliver Anderson, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I was waiting for my cue.
Better late than never. What's been going on?
Well, I've had a sore throat, and then apparently a few too many beers that helped me get the throat problem sorted.
Right. Okay. So how many have we had this evening?
Enough.
Oh, it's going to be interesting.
As always. Well, Chris, you know nothing. You remember nothing of what happened 6 months ago.
Do I dare ask what happened 6 months ago? Something tells me probably not.
We created an official drinking game during the final round of the WTCC season.
Okay.
Yeah, I had forgot about that, but I think it's one of those memories that I wanted to forget.
Yes. But you still remember Chris Hill's corner from a previous round. Who could ever forget? Anyways, what have I missed, Sam?
Not a whole lot. So we had a wet-free practice, a damp qualifying, and now the track is optimum and showing as being optimum for the next 30 minutes. So drivers now have the dilemma of wondering whether or if the rain is going to come. So 0 wind and a very comfortable 21 track temperature, 27. So I'm pretty sure everyone's going to have their fingers crossed, hoping for no rain in the foreseeable future.
It surely seems like it, but I can see that a few surprises happened in qualifying. Frank Hobb is not in the top 10, and Steve Parker tops out in aim.
Yeah, so really great qualifying session from Steve Parker. Frank was on to do much better on his qualifying time, but unfortunately invalidated coming out of Brooklands into Luffield, giving Steve Parker the AM pole.
That's quite a bit of a surprise, to be honest, but we'll see how the race pans out for these guys.
I'm not too surprised at Steve Parker's pace. He was the quickest in the midweek practice server, and putting in a decent number of laps as well. So, yeah, he's definitely been grinding away and putting in the preparation. So I think this should be a good race for him.
That's Steve, as we know him. He always does basically the most amount of practice laps of any guy, and he's the guy that I feel with the most for not having the win yet, because of all the effort he puts into it. But we'll see what happens this race. He surely have the best position of the AIM drivers to do something about this one. But then again, a lot of these drivers have been driving the 24-hour race in the weekend that might have cut down a bit of their practice time.
Yeah, I did notice that normally coming into Tier 2, the number of drivers that have gone into the practice server are a lot higher than what it was today. So yeah, not surprised because of the 24-hour race this weekend. Those numbers in the practice server being a little bit down on what we would expect. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think Steve Parker for all the work and effort that he puts in. Definitely deserves a win. And he's come close. He's done a P3, but yeah, it'd be really great to see Steve further up than the podium than that.
Yeah, but speaking of podiums, we are heading on to the start-finish line for the start of this race. Andy King will lead the way as we are very close to go racing now. In a few moments' time, I'll get to say, we are racing!
No.
Great start from Van der Linden on the outside. He seems to take the lead into turn 1. He actually makes it through the bad start of the Ferrari, as always it seems like, as Aaron Van Duren makes a move on for second position as well, coming through Maggots and Beggots. Van Duren seems to get the run there on Andy King. He is through, and someone's off their way on the inside in a Lambo. It seems like that could have been Timo Sidek. Looked like his Lambo, as Van Duren goes wide as well, cutting directly in front of Andy King, who have moved down into third position.
And surprisingly, that looks like a really clean start all the way back down in the order. A few cars going in a little bit wide, but certainly nothing flashing up yellow, and the pack all still relatively close together, but not a great start for Andy King, dropping 2 places, basically just caught napping on then the start line, and Frans van der Linden just drove past like he was standing still.
Yeah, normally we have seen the tendency since the Ferrari came out, the new Ferrari came out, that it haven't been that good off the starting line compared to its most likely competitors, but this time it really showed off big here and became a big disadvantage for Andy King, who have dropped 2 positions after doing such a good job putting the car on pole position. But surprised to see Aaron Van Duren making up 2 positions in the start as well, from 4th up into 2nd in the Mercedes. He is a driver who have been driving that Mercedes for a few years at this point. I only remember to ever seeing him in a different car once in the, 3 years I've seen him racing. He ran SSRI and before that SRHI. Good start from him, as Timo Sidek also seemed to have moved up a few positions. I think he was 7th or 8th on the grid, though he did cut through Maggots and Beggots, it looked like early on. He's applying the pressure on Ike Hughes, one of the drivers of the very unlucky 91 car in the 24-hour endurance race this weekend that looked to be a good contender for the win. As Sidek are really pushing it hard, 2 by 2 further down the field, just behind us actually with Sebastian Reinl and Artis, another of the Mercedes in the silver class of this evening.
Yeah, and even though Timo was a little bit back, further back from where he would like to be, as long as he keeps Sebastian Reinl behind him, then he's, it'll be good for him and overall in the points for the championship. Currently 4 points between them at the minute, which is the difference between P1 and P2 in terms of points per race. So as long as Timo can stay ahead of Sebastian, then it's going to be good for his championship bid coming into the final round at Suzuka.
It seems like he will, as he is putting more pressure on Ike Hughes at the minute than Ryan is putting on him, as Ryan have dropped behind Partis as well, down to 7th position at the minute in the secondary Mercedes of the race. Someone goes very wide there. Ooh, collision! That's Hughes around. Ike Hughes is around. That was Andy King who went wide early on.
Oh, has that Andy King been collected in that as well?
I don't think he got collected, but he definitely went off before this collision happened, as King was much further up the road. Very unfortunate for the pole sitter. I see have moved down to 5th position last time they crossed the timing line. Have to wait until they cross the start-finish line to see where he actually is, but looks like it's still 5th, as Sidek is 3rd as far as I can count.
Yeah, and Andy King is that black Ferrari right behind Partis.
we have a replay of something here. No, it's just the camera effect that Chris puts on. I always think we get a replay when we see that. As he is trying the move on the outside of part C's into, I was about to say turns 2, but it technically is, but it's Maggotts and Beckett's, of course, through around this track. It's not the Grand Prix layout we use, it's obviously the GT3 layout with the start-finishing line being on the old start-finish straight.
Yeah, that caught me out for the track walk.
I remember once when we did a race here, I wanted to come into the pits and I went for the Grand Prix pit lane and hit directly into a wall.
Yeah, those bollards there are not they're not movable. So yeah, definitely don't want to do that.
I was thinking something was wrong when I passed through some cones getting in there, but didn't pick up early enough that it wasn't there.
So, and Andy King up into P4. If anything that we took away from the last race, he can quite easily get all of them this time back and get back up to fighting with Frans van der Linden. But Sam coming into the YouTube chat saying feeling really bad for iChoose getting collected again. He's had so much bad luck. I do agree. I mean, when Ike, he does just seem to attract accidents, like a bit of a magnet. Unfortunately, he's managed to rejoin the race back in P12, but is at a good way behind Aaron van der Linden, who we're on board with at the minute.
Yep. But this thing is also something I talked to Bas van Middelhoff earlier in the week, as he have been involved in a lot of incidents in the tier 1 as well. He haven't had a single clean race as of this point. When you're getting involved in that many incidents, it's no longer a matter of luck or bad luck. It's a special skill you gain to be on the wrong place in the wrong time every time. These people should not play the lottery, that's for sure. They'll lose out big time. As Iron van der Linden is applying the pressures on Steve Parker, as we head on to a replay, this is Andy King. We look in the background of Aaron van Duren here. Let's see what happens. He goes in deep, trying the launch, hits Van Duren. Van Duren goes wide, and what happens after this? Van Duren goes up for the almost revenge move there, and pushing King wide, and iChoose spins in front of us with the collision with Timo Sidek there. I think the stewards might have a few things to look into after this race if this gets reported. That was surely an interesting situation.
Yeah, really unfortunate for iChoose there. It looks like he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Completely not his fault, but just getting a little bit of a tap on the back end, and just spinning that car around. Thankfully, he was able to get the car facing the right direction again, but unfortunately not before a considerable amount of the pack had passed him by.
As Chris moved the cameras, iChoose was very close to making a move at Aaron van der Linden as we jump back up to Andy King applying the pressures on Timo Sidek. We come back to iChoose now, of course. The battle between Van Duren, Sidek, and King we were on before. Now we're on iChoose and Aaron van der Linden moving on. I'm getting a little bit confused talking and a little bit hard for my throat after a rough rig. Three-way battle almost between Parker, van der Linden, and Choose, as Frank Hopp have moved slightly ahead in the GT3 AM category, as we have seen so many times earlier this season.
Yeah, so Frank managing to get that overtake done, and at some point in the past few laps, to get ahead of Steve Parker. But then this gap between iChoose and Aaron van der Linden seems to be sort of settling down a little bit now. I think Ike has possibly made a bit of a mistake and has dropped back to 0.6 of a second behind. Obviously, he's going to be carrying a little bit of damage on board that McLaren, but
yeah. But then again, I think that Ike is just at this point being very smart and waiting for the right moment to make the overtakes. He knows that he's not going to win the race. It's all about recovering as many points as possible, but making an optimistic launch. Ike is a smart driver, and he will not do that kind of thing. So he'll probably be sitting here waiting for a good opportunity for him to stick his nose in and get the move done cleanly.
Yeah, Lynn, looking at Ike's positions in the last few races, it's been a while since he's had a good showing. His best round out was at Snetterton, only taking home 8 points at that event, and that's the most points that he's managed to get in a race. So not a very, very good season for Ike Choose.
No, but the thing is, these things happen, and often when they happen to someone, they will happen in sort of coming in waves, that you'll have a lot of bad races before coming back to a lot of good races.
Yeah.
I remember maybe it's 1.5 years ago. Ooh, as Ike goes for the outside move, as Iron Van Linden made the move, and Steve Parker they're moving ahead of Parker, and Ike gets a little bit hung out to dry there on the outside of Sam. You can probably name that corner better than me.
It's coming out of Luffield into Woodcote.
That's the one. As Ike goes for the Hamilton move on Verstappen into cups, I believe, and he does make the start contact, but he somehow manages to keep the car alive. Steve Parker did there. Somewhat reasonable move from Ike. He did stick his nose in just about right in time. It looked like as Steve already had to drop quite a bit down as he got the wrong line into Maggots and Biggets, but somewhat of a slightly aggressive move from Ike, something I wasn't expecting to see, as I was about to tell a story about Ike Choose from maybe 2 years ago, but I never got to do that, as the action just kicked off.
I'd be interested to know what happened to Steve Parker at the lead up to that overtake. We saw him coming back onto track from the grass, so I don't know if that was an initial tap from Ike Choose in order to set up the move to begin with, because obviously Steve Parker has lost out 2 positions.
It's hard
in total.
to say, as Andy King right now is on the inside of Timo Sidek, moving through the village and loop. I think they are called these corners. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Sam.
Yep, the village and loop.
Andy tucking back into the slipstream of Timo Sidek here, coming down the back straight. Though Sidek does have the advantage of being in a car that have a little bit more top end and have a little bit of slipstream from Aaron Van Doren in the slightly even faster car, the Mercedes, of course it is. Aaron Van Doren is driving the one sole factory Mercedes we see in this championship, in the entirety of the sprint championship actually. Or at least we used to call them the factory Merc in our team, because we have basically never seen them drive anything but the Mercedes. And we expect they have some kind of factory support from Mercedes at this point. Of the amount of showing they're doing for that team. All 3 cars using as much curb as possible through cups, Maggots and Biggets that go through. Difficult corner, we can see them taking different amounts of curb through that, as we have some kind of replay now. We can see Steve Parker in the red Ferrari as Ike Choose goes to the inside here. Oh, really late on the big brakes there for Ike. It looked like he kept a line that would have left enough room for Ike. Bit of an aggressive move and a cent and a half, but I reckon it was clean enough. What do you think, Sam?
Aggressive, but not penalty worthy. I would say, you know, getting the elbows out did leave him just a squeaky enough room to get 2 cars through there, but certainly no more, and definitely forcing Steve Parker to take avoiding action onto the curb there. But seeing just how much of the track Timo Zidek is using, these drivers have got to be careful about track limits.
As Andy King is on the inside of Sidek now once again through the loop section. By the way, it seems like we had a disconnect from Jesse van Breil. I can see in the YouTube chat. I didn't notice that, as Andy King and Timo Sidek side by side down the back straight coming into Brooklyn, I want to say now. And Andy King goes for the launch on the inside. Sidek have to wait a little bit turning in there. It looks like King got the move done, but we see a lot of different lines through here. Now it will be the drag race into turn 1, but it looks like King got that move done. Up into P3.
This is a move that Andy King, we're getting to know him for. He seems to be very, very good on the brakes in that Ferrari. Able to brake a lot later than a lot of the other cars around. But and as I was saying, these drivers have really got to be careful with track limits. Andy King invalidating just coming out of Cops there. Probably not enough to get a track limit warning, but these guys are going to have to be careful.
Yeah, but also Siddick left the door open in that corner. But again, the thing is about the braking. I've noticed this on my own driving, that a lot of drivers brake much later than me, but then I carry more speed out of the corners. I think that's the same case for Timo Siddick. Generally a fast driver, but he brakes. He have this style of driving where he brakes earlier to take the exit speed that will hurt him in battles like this. And just commenting on something that Simsport said, yes, normally you also see both Sebastian and Dennis Meter in the Mercedes, but yeah, both these drivers were so worn out after the endurance race in the weekend that I don't think that Meter made the race after that with about 0 practice, as far as I could understand, on him after having shared a car with both of them. So, so yeah, I don't think they could take 24 hours of my speaking, understandably. Yeah, I don't think anyone honestly could, but hey ho, that's part of signing up with our team.
Then it's something
big
very...
battle for P2, big battle for P2. Van Doren and Andy King already on the move again. Same corner this time around, but Van Doren an old fox. King goes for the move. It looks like Van Doren just
bit of contact.
Just allows for that. Van Doren could definitely have turned into that corner, but opted the smart way and keep racing.
Yeah, I think that might have been just a little bit of a push to pass. I think there was a bit of door rubbing there, but yeah, King definitely liking that move coming down off the Wellington Straight. But something that I've just noticed that's very interesting, Ike Choose currently with the fastest lap of the race, by a considerable margin as well. He's 1/10 off of Andy King's fastest time, who was holding the fastest lap up until I believe 2 laps ago is when Ike took that purple lap time.
Yeah, but just keep
King, so.
but just keep in mind that King have been in traffic so far all race. He could strike back and retain the fastest lap, and Ike have had a little bit of clean air that he could run in, and maybe some slipstream of Johan Planas, as I've been told that the name is supposed to be pronounced, in the 81 Ferrari, who was one of my forehand favorites for the championship before the season started, but he seemed to have not had the same kind of race pace as he looked like in qualifying and practice trims so far.
No, I'm just looking to see where Planas is in the championship at the minute. He's currently tied for P9 with Patrick Prince.
Yeah, that's a bit surprising. We did see him up there in the earlier rounds of the season, close to getting a few wins, but unfortunate track limits got him in some of them, and a few spins. I'm a little bit surprised about that, because a few years ago I also raced against him in the second split, where he dominated everything alongside Milan Dumas, as I remember it to be. Could have been Jitse Miedema as well, where these drivers were just mad fast. Milan Dumas being an aim driver for some reason after he sandbagged the feces out of the yes, very child friendly out of the pre-season testing. But yeah, a bit surprised to see him back here, but that also proves how much the other drivers have developed their driving skills. I don't think it's Johan who have regressed in driving skill, or I think it's the rest of the grid who have just improved their skills so much that he is no longer the top dog, sort of, say, in a championship like this.
Yeah, it can quite often end up being a combination of both. That if people don't keep up with just putting time in the rig in the off season, they can quite easily come into the next season and suddenly find themselves considerably off the pace from where they were the previous season. Not because they've gotten slower, but because everybody else has just gotten a little bit quicker.
Yeah, most definitely. But then again, it's a matter of time, and we all spend the off season differently. Personally, I also like to spend my off seasons not racing, as I'm doing way too much racing in the regular season.
Yeah.
driving multiple championships, not just in SSRI, but a few other places as well, and having the endurance races as well with a few communities and yeah, ooh, Steve Parker almost running into the back of Iron van der Linden there. But back to the thing, as we see the Lexus of Mountain Wins coming up now on the inside of Steve Parker, I don't think Wins can get this move to stick. No, he can't. He's falling back into position behind Parker. But as I was saying, I like to spend my off season doing as little racing as possible. Maybe I'll have a little think about the cars that I want to drive next season. And if I'm lucky enough, I haven't had any beers when I pick them, and I'll pick a somewhat competitive car. Often happens that I'll be a little bit too drunk and pick cars like the Lexus or Nissan or even at the Jack for one time, which I really regretted just the day after, but stuff happens.
Yeah. Well, my husband Nathan has voluntarily chosen the Lexus for his next championship season, which is starting tomorrow. You know, it's a really, really great car to drive, but it's just so slow compared to everything else. And he's like, well, yeah, I'm just doing it for a bit of fun. And then I keep saying, is it really going to be fun after, you know, every race and you're 2 seconds off than the pace? But
it's actually not that slow in my opinion. It's maybe about if you have an optimum setup, it'll be about 7/10 off every track, but I've driven it not that long ago myself, and I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, think it's one of the most fun cars to drive. Because it's quite long, and it's also very narrow when you look at it, which means the back end will be super slidey when you drive it. Super fun to try and learn to control that car and the sound and the movement of the car and everything. It's just an awesome car to drive. Unfortunately, it's not that competitive anymore. I think last time it was competitive about maybe 3 years ago, maybe.
A couple of years ago, yeah. So when we're seeing our first pit stop coming in, Wouter van Wereld deciding to come in from the back of the pack at P17. Little bit on the early side when we're about 8.5 minutes and off of half time. So
yeah, but honestly, I think I'll do the same next week when we go racing. Don't copy my strategies out there in the YouTube chat, especially not use them. I know that you're listening, but we have seen so many times this season. Not that much in the first split, but in the second split at least, that the undercut have been worth it, since you get out there on fresh tires and you can maybe get a few places. But looks like Van der Wood might have had some damage as he's about to get lapped and will re-emerge on track into traffic and having to let their cars go through on blue flags. Not optimum for his race, I would say, but maybe you have a deeper plan with this strategy.
Yeah.
And as we have had no talking for a few seconds, that was just Chris Hill reminding us that he have shut off his microphone because he's a bit too camera shy. And we are focusing on this driving as Andy King have moved in very close to Frans van der Linden, also a driver that, well, honestly, I don't think that Frans have won in SSRI yet, though he have been close a few times and have been robbed in a few races, and also a driver that we would really like to see get the top step of the podium, as Andy is right up the rear of Frans van der Linden, and Andy did get the fastest lap of the race during his spill of clean air, stealing it away from Ike.
Frans van der Linden did manage a P2 last round out at Watkins Glen, but has come off of the back of a couple of bad races. So unfortunately, currently in P7 in the overall championship. So definitely not on the level where he should be for his skill and overall pace. But then this gap between Andy King and van der Linden has come down very, very quickly. It was nearly 4 seconds only a couple of laps ago. Now down to 2
tenths. Is actually defending the inside as King now tries the outside move through Brooklands and Love Field, I think you called it earlier, maybe. Or am I completely wrong and killing
you're right.
UK traditions? Van der Linden does manage to defend the first place so far, but start-finish right now into cups we go. You can see that King taking a lot more curve, but still not close enough to go for the launch into cups. great driving from these guys. Van Linden goes a bit wide there. He might pick up a track warning for that if he didn't lift.
He definitely has invalidated. So.
Oh yes, no
Yeah,
doubts about that.
by miles. So I think that the next opportunity that Andy's going to have is at the end of the Hangar Straight coming into Stowe.
I don't think he's close enough for that, to be honest, though. We have seen him very late on the brakes, and the inside move here is an opportunity if he can deny Van der Linden of the switchback, but definitely not close enough this time around.
So might have a go into Abbey off the back of the Hamilton Straight, but I think a lot of that will depend on the exit that he gets out of club.
You know what? I think he's playing it smart, knowing how good he's been into Luffield this entire race.
It does seem to be his preferred move to get lots of slipstream down the Wellington Straight. He seems to get Aintree really good and get a great run down the back straight coming into Brooklands. But
most
I think Van der Linden's got somebody in his...
Look at this line. If Van der Linden wasn't there, then King would have had so much overspeed on Van der Linden. He just manages to get the line through Village and the loop much better. So in the bottom screen we see Steve Parker on Iron Van der Linden, actually making a move the other Van der Linden as Steve Parker goes through in the, what was that corner? That wasn't Cops, no, that was Abbey, I think it was. Now they're into the Village and loop.
Yep.
And Steve Parker takes the position, moving up into 10th position at this point of the race. France still leading after they went through the Luffield and Brooklands corners. Brooklands probably came first, or they're doing it in reverse.
I would hope that Brooklands comes first, yeah. So I think France has somebody in his ear that letting him know that Andy King is preferring that move down the Wellington Straight. And he's been just placing that car perfectly to force Andy that if he wants to get the move done, he's going to have to go around the outside, which is a tall ask here.
Oh, it is. I definitely think that France have some sort of a team help. The Sim Racing Holland guys seem to stick together very nicely, and there are a few of the guys that we saw at least in the endurance race that are definitely in this one to help him. I could imagine a guy like either Jean Beton or Justin Dijon would be here telling him something in his ears, maybe giving him a few tips or tricks here and there.
Yeah, definitely.
On what to do, both racing and strategy wise. As Chris said something that I didn't hear in my ear. And Chris informs me that it's only actually Frans van der Linden and Holzinger in that chat. I don't know why Chris have access to the Sim Racing Holland server. Maybe he have become a Dutchman himself racing for that team. I actually think they used to call Chris for the Flying Dutchman back when he played football, but that could just be that could just be me hearing the rumors in town.
So we now have a battle developing for P3, but a bit of a gap back from this P1 fight that we're watching up in the top corner. But down in the bottom right, this is Timo Zidek putting some pressure on Aaron Van Drunen overall for P3.
I'm actually a bit surprised that Van Drunen is not up there battling for the win here. Their team did not make it to the 24-hour of Kyalami or this past weekend for some mysterious reason. I even offered them my driving assistance, of course, but they quickly denied it as they reckoned they could drink way more beers than I could. Very unfortunate for these guys. We would have loved to see them on the grid, of course, with the famous CBRS livery. And they're often quite big support for the community and the racing. I don't think that I've seen them miss many endurance races at all, ever. But yeah, Timo Zidek raced the race and had a few.
Andy gets the move King round on the outside. Really brave, but both drivers giving.
The battle is not over yet, as I think Chris is working on a replay for us of the move, as I was actually watching the P3, P4 battle at that point. As all focus goes to the top, France tries the outside, even off the track, trying to everything he have to hold it in there, forcing
That's
the
actually
King.
Franz van der Linden going wide, trying
Oh
to
yeah,
get the move back from Andy King.
oh, they're both black cars. It's hard to tell the difference. As Franz is doing everything he can to get back at Andy King at this point. He knows that Andy have a lot of pace, so if he wants to get back through, he needs to do it soon. As
So
Van der Linden and Sidek have moved slightly closer to these guys, if they have been battling for a few corners now, is this the time where Van der Linden tries the Hail Mary and launch it up the inside of Andy King? We'll have to wait and see. No, he doesn't too far back. Andy King takes a position that this could be an opportunity for France to take the pit stop and try for the undercut. At this point, if Andy doesn't dive in here, I would probably do that if I was France. He continues driving.
Both keep going.
Yeah, actually the entirety of the top 4 seems to keep going at this point, as we have just crossed the 30-minute marker of the race. 15 laps driven so far. And France must be getting close to the drive-through at this point. We've seen him off track so many times, not knowing, of course, how many track cuts he have, but he must be getting up there. At least 3 of them have been caught on camera where he have been off track. Whether or not that he's actually gaining on it is, it's a question that is unknown to us. Frank Hopp goes into the pit from the lead of the AM class. Whether or not that he retains the virtual lead after the pit stop round, we'll have to wait and see. Not that great of a gap to Steve Parker before the stops. As we go flying above Iron van der Linden, chasing down Steve Parker for second, or virtually second position in the AM category at the minute. Frank Hopp's still in the pits, and these drivers are only on. They must have passed him at this point. We'll see when they pass this checkpoint. Yeah, they jumped through. I was just thinking why they hadn't moved ahead of Frank Hopp yet, but that was just a timing issue.
Yeah, the sectors on this track are quite far spread out. Especially sector 1, really long sector here.
Yeah, but at least they are roughly equally length. We'll go to Suzuka, for example, in 2 weeks' time, where we'll see some, at least one of the sectors being quite a bit shorter than the rest of them. Speaking of the third one, of course, but we'll see that when we get there. Of course, no need to take the enjoyment in advance. Argan and Van der Linden are currently the closest battle on track. Not the only one within a second, as Aaron Van Doren and Timo Sidek dives into the pit. I was about to say they are as close almost track-wise as that's a battle in the pits at the minute. Van der Linden and Steve Parker, both of them really wanting this a good result here at Silverstone. We saw Parker go a little bit deep there. Maybe he's feeling the pressure of Van der Linden, both in the Ferrari, of course, as Van der Linden looks to be taking the pit. He does take the pit stop. Choose Schenkelens and Van der Linden in the pits at the minute. Van Doren and Sidek, of course, we could probably get a picture of those guys as they exit the pit. They'll probably be super close on the pit exit. Very exciting pictures we're getting from Chris at the minute. Staying still in the pits. He's complaining in the background that I wanted these pictures and that nothing is happening. But Van Doren have dropped from the jacks. He'll be going very shortly. So that's seems like some issues there from Van Doren. Big gap between them after all as they exit the pits. Sidek have jumped Van Doren by quite a bit there. Maybe Van Doren had some kind of damage before the pits, or he might have missed the pit box auction stop, as they say in German, due to the many beers that we know that Van Doren have had at this point of the race. King still leading the race, 2.1 seconds to Franz van der Linden. It is also the actual lead between them. None of these drivers have taken the pit, and they were ahead of the other guys before the pit stop round. At this point, we can say that it's most certainly going to be a dry race the entire way through, but these guys might... Oh, that's a disconnect. That's a disconnect from Andy King. Andy King out of the race at this point. It seems like Franz van der Linden takes over in the lead, as Andy King will have to reset to the pit boxes, and he'll be probably at least a lap or two down if he returns to the zero. Franz van der Linden.
We had notification that about 15 minutes before qualifying finished, Andy King had a power failure at his house. So quite possible that has happened again. There are some very severe thunderstorms going through the south of England today. So that looks like he's had another power failure. Really, really, really unfortunate. If he's quick though, he should be able to get back into the server before the end of the race. It's definitely all over for him getting the win of the race.
Yes, if it's a power failure and the entirety of the house have shut down, then before he rejoins the zero, it'll be at least 5 minutes before the power will reset if it's a circuit break that needs to be hit. And then there'll be a roughly 2-minute penalty for jumping into zero and probably picking his correct setup once again. I think this is definitely over from Andy King, unfortunately, in all circumstances. But racing goes on. Franz van der Linden comes out in traffic with Sebastian Reinl still P2 at this point, though it's only Sebastian Reinl who haven't entered the pits at the time. But this actually promotes Parties quite far up. No, that's Seidek. Seidek is now leading the race ahead of van der Linden. Wow. Seidek made the perfect pit stop call there. A bit surprised there. Maybe I should be looking at the pit wall when doing comms and not just of what I'm seeing on the screen. But Timo Seidek have passed Franz van der Linden, and Franz cannot be happy about this. We have seen Seidek being fast throughout the entirety of the race, but this is a bit surprising to me that he caught up or he gained that much in the pits. This could mean that van der Linden also did something wrong in the pits, or he just did something perfectly, as he have also kept Van Doren by a quite substantial margin at this point.
I think so. Something that's really important to note: Sebastian Reinl not done his pit stop yet. And this is going to have significant impact on the overall championship, because once Sebastian Reinl does do his pit stop, he is going to drop a couple of places. So Seidek is not only going to get the 4 points that he needs to take the championship lead, but is also going to have a couple of point buffer going into Suzuka. The only thing that I haven't worked out yet is what the impact of the drop round will have on those two drivers. I think Timo Seidek is going to come out of the drop round better, because as of the minute, Timo Seidek will only be losing 9 points, whereas Sebastian Reinl will be losing 15 once the drop round has been applied. Andy King back in the server, but obviously needing to wait for his controls lock to end.
Oh, and
unfortunately, he has also got his pit stop again to do.
Oh, this is so unfortunate.
That's just insult to injury, isn't it?
It truly is. As we see a yellow flag, that now turns into white. Is that 11? I think
11. Yeah. So that's Marco Zenga. So that's our newcomer to the championship this evening. Again with the Sim Racing Holland team.
A lot of these Sim Racing Holland drivers are joining the community in these days. It seems like obviously it's good to see them on the server, as Van Doren are now pushing all over the back of Franz van der Linden through. I thought that was Maggots and Bigots, but that wasn't. That was the turn 1-2 combo into to the loop. Wellington straight we go. Van Doren will have he touched the grass there and loses a bit of momentum coming out that corner. Normally Mercedes are quite good on top speed. Sebastian Reinl in the pits from the lead. Interesting to see where he'll emerge back on track. Definitely not in the lead. Van Doren seems to go a bit deep there, missing the apex of Brooklyn. He was very close to Franz, and he could have put on the move there if he got the good run out onto Wellington straight, but have fallen a little bit further back now. If he gets a good run through, comes Magnussen Beckett, he could make the run into Stove under the right circumstances. Is that Ryan rejoining the track just behind them?
Oh, that's
No,
Andy King.
that's Andy King. That's Andy King coming out of the pits. Ryan's still in just left now. He's right behind Johan Planos, it seems like. Track-wise, I will right behind a few seconds behind, honestly, but no, that's Juice. I think Ryan is one further down. Actually, I think Ryan have emerged in the 7th position. Maybe we'll see when they cross the timing line.
Yeah, timing board is just updating, and he is P5. Nope, 6.
Are you sure about that? I think he's P6. The free car is still behind him. P6.
P6, yeah. One thing that I've got to say, I know Andy came into the YouTube chat being, really quite annoyed, saying that his internet had gone, complaining that what a joke it was. But the very fact that he has rejoined the server, 3 laps down, still in a pit stop to make, and is still racing, just to enjoy being out on track, and he's gonna get points. It's amazing, and this is what I love to see from this community. Is a lot of people would have just said, screw it, my internet's gone, I'm gonna be too far back, I'm not gonna get anything, what's the point? But the fact that Andy has kept going, and it's just doing it for enjoyment, and I think is a sign of what makes this community what it is, and I just absolutely love to see it.
Oh yes, I also like that part of the community that we see, that no one's a quitter. We had the 24-hour race, and the only car that didn't finish the race was the guest drivers from the Amigos Racing community. Not to say anything about their community, but I think it says a bit about ours that no one quits in ours. We always keep going, and we had some good talks during the race with, especially I think it was the 901 car, one of the backmarker teams that I personally enjoy talking to the most in races like this. These guys just come in with good spirits and trying to finish the race, having fun, a bunch of mates together, and yeah, doing the best they could. Yeah, and then we had the 787, the former Honda, now Porsche car team that won 2 races early in the season. They had a disconnect, I believe, in the early hours of the evening and rejoined by the end of the race. About a 480 laps. I think it was 487, maybe something like that. Crazy amount of laps down, but they did manage to join back into the server. As we go here onto this battle, as I choose, it's Iron van der Linden on Mountain Wins on the outside into Stove's contact. He does keep it behind. Good save there from Bounce, but I don't think that van der Linden should go for that move. No, he backs out. Good sportsmanship there from van der Linden. He could have made the move if he was a little bit less of a sportsman there. But chooses to be a good lad. Falling in behind once again into a section here. It's hard to make the overtake into the Grand Prix turn 1 area here, but it could be done if you're really brave or stupid, one of the two. A few fast corners, slow corners after this. You can make the braking move here, but I think that he will actually try it on the outside. Yeah, and the outside will become inside. Yes, exactly what we want to see. That's a good move there from Iron van der Linden. Although it is on a Lexus, to be fair, on Mountain Wins, not much he could have done there defensively in that long, unstable car. He's doing a good job of keeping that car on the podium of the AM class at the minute.
Yeah, when quite a elbows out set of corners there from Aaron van der Linden. Little bit of door rubbing through a couple of corners there, but I still think nice and cleanly done. did wait when he gave Router just a little bit too strong of a knock. So really great from the two of them. And Steve Parker coming up onto the back of this group relatively quickly. So it's something that happens very often in this game. Is if you're busy fighting with somebody else, you can quite easily overall lose time to cars behind, and that's what we're seeing here. Steve Parker gaining some time onto the back of Router Vince. That gap now 0.8. I suspect that will start to come down as Steve Parker tries to get back some of the positions that he lost in the AM class.
Yeah, I think that Steve had some issue. Oh, goddammit, I'm so tired. Had some issues. I still haven't slept that much since the 24-hour. As Chris and I was taking the both late night shift and early mornings for some reason. I don't know why I did that. Maybe that's why my throat is so sore at this point. But yeah, it seems like that Steve had some issues in the pits, maybe with the time he lost in that sequence of the race. He is making good time of round to wins as he could within the next lap. He's definitely within battle range now. He could make the move at any point if he stays close enough. We know the Ferrari is a very good racing car, especially compared to the Lexus. Still, what a lad to choose the Lexus round to wins. I honestly, before the season, was close to picking it myself, knowing that I would have been in the second split with the car. And this is probably where I belong with my skill level personally. And,
well,
yeah.
I mean, Steve Parker was 2 seconds faster than Router on that last lap. I don't think this is going to be long.
But remember, in the last lap, we also saw the overtake from Van der Linden on Parker. Now, I think that Rounds had to back off a bit there to avoid the track cut warning, but he still keeps ahead of Parker. Parker backs out through Magnussen. Beckett, smart move from Parker, not going side by side through here. As I think we have all tried at some point in our simulation career, and it never ends up well when you do that.
I think Router ended up just losing a bit of traction coming out of Cops and just slid wide. So yeah, and had to get off then the throttle to avoid getting a track cut warning. It's something that I say quite often. I really wish that in some sort of commentary mode in ACC that it would show us how things were with drivers that were watching, whether they had any crack limit warnings or anything like that. Definitely make it a lot more interesting for us as commentators. But
yeah, we can cross our fingers for AC2 to have that kind of stuff when that game finally goes live. But we'll have to wait and see whether or not that will actually be commentating on that game. But obviously, Sam, you know that you and I, and with Chris behind the cameras, we are the dream team of any sim racing event. So I think everyone will be reaching out to us after this one. Well, this is the theater of nightmares, of course. Oh wait, that was Copenhagen last week. Sorry to all the people from Manchester. Chris. Apparently Chris is a City fan, and he enjoyed the fact that United have lost twice in Parken. But just remember that City also didn't win at Parken when they visited there for the Champions League. Boo-hoo for you. Anyways, I don't think that we should talk about the Champions League. But you won the Champions League, but didn't win in Parken that same year. Just a fun fact. Anyways, we shouldn't be talking about football during a motor race like this.
Enough about football.
Also, I realized that no one could hear what Chris was saying, so I was just saying random things about football in Copenhagen, but without any context. Anyway, Steve Parker is still on the back of round to wins at this point. Seems like that Van Doren have lost a bit of the air in the balloon, or what you say in English. You might have a better saying than that, probably. But he have dropped quite a bit back from Van der Linden, who's only 1.3 behind Sidek. That could still evolve into a battle later on. This is the only basically wheel-to-wheel battle we still have on track at this minute, but things could still change during this race. Steve Parker looking very spicy on his driving style. Definitely trying everything as Van Duren goes into the pits once again. Aaron Van Duren pits from P3 in the race.
Ooh.
He might have underfueled massively, or he have put alcohol in the tank or something like that. This is definitely going to promote a few people one spot up the grid. The Lexus has insane into corners, almost drifting. Yes, Sim, that's very, very correct. But that's how you drive the Lexus. You should try it next season, and you will probably still win because you are the simulator himself. But yeah, Van Duren still stuck in the pits. He could actually emerge on track behind these guys, still not moving as I can see on the screen. We'll actually get a shot of him in the background here. We can see if he's still parked in the pit box. He's still parked in the pit box. Is he taking tires or something? This seems very strange from Van Duren. With 10 minutes to go, he's definitely not still fueling that car. That would be a ridiculous amount of fuel that he's taking.
He could have a technical issue.
That could be a technical issue, but that would be surprising from Van Duren, although he could still be on his computer knowing him. But yeah, that's unfortunate for the factory Mercedes. That means that Sebastian Reinl are the best Mercedes in this race at this point. Well, the best of two, but still the best Mercedes. Yes, you can go for fastest lap in the... oh yes, Van Duren could be going for fastest lap by taking fresh tires, but that would be a little bit weird giving up P3.
Yeah.
But that's
And there's no point for it.
There's no point. He just dropped out to say, well, he must have had some kind of technical issue as we are under 10 minutes left of racing, still following Steve Parker, who seems to have lost a little bit of ground to Outer Winds, who's doing an extraordinary job keeping that Belgium Lexus up there in the top 10. Frank Hopp still leading the M category, by the way, with quite the margin down to Ian van der Linden. I'm honestly not surprised at this point of the championship that Frank Hopp is leading the AM category, but I'm a bit surprised that he's not up there in the top 5 overall, if I must say so myself.
I mean, then this is certainly going to help Frank Hopp in his overall bid for the championship win. Wouter Vince being 2 places behind him. And currently 4 points behind him in the championship going into the final round. Just looking to see what the points drop points will be. Frank will be dropping 10 points and Wouter Vince will be dropping 11 as it stands at the minute. So Frank can be comfortably in P1 coming into that final round, I think.
Yeah, most certainly. Now I honestly missed the last 2 races of this Tier 2 championship, but he did do well in the first couple of races, and then had a bad result or 2 at Misano, I think, in the race after that might have been.
It was Kyalami and Misano.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's won all 3 of the others. So. They're definitely having a bit of a blip mid-season.
Yeah, that could be because it was some tracks he didn't like. I know that at Misano he got involved in an incident early in the race, but that could have happened in some other races as well that we hadn't caught on to. Frank Hopp is doing a great job, and even before the season, I was thinking to myself he might have been misplaced in the M category, but then again, looking at the drivers in the silver class before the season as well, then I was thinking it might be the place for him, but he have seemed to dominate the other AM drivers. He could have probably competed in silver with no problem.
Yeah, I would expect to see Frank Hopp in silver next season. I'd be very surprised
if he picks a super competitive car, he might even jump up and replace me in the semi-pro class.
So Steve Parker is still trying to get this move done on Wouter Vince, making this Lexus about as wide as a Hummer. 6 minutes to go. Steve is probably starting to get a little impatient sitting back here. Hopefully it's not going to to make him lose sight of the fact that it's better to finish than try and go for a daft overtake. But yeah, I would suspect that he's starting to get a little frustrated.
Yeah, but you know what they say, Sam? To finish first you have to finish.
This is true. I'm trying
Yes.
I knew
Oh.
you were going to say that, and I'm just trying to think who it was that quote is from.
Well, John Nielsen always says it in Danish Formula 1 commentary, as Schinkelins is also under pressure from Frank Hopp at the minute, as we also see a battle further down the field with, I really can't tell you because of the low quality on my screen at the minute.
It's right, Wouter Bilsma.
What Sam just said, and then...
Right, Wouter Bilsma coming up
and-
onto the back of Peter Bocklund. This is for P12.
I was about to say, I thought that was Brockland in the Belgium colored car. Ahead as Parker now have to run into Grand Prix turn 1, backs out smartly there from Parker. The split screen is a bit hard to see for me. It's somewhat small screens, but I bet you that that Sam can do a good job of keeping you informed of everything I miss. Is that another car that's joining behind? Oh, that must be Andy King behind
That's Andy
Steve
King.
Parker.
Yeah, who is still 3 laps down.
I wonder if he will just showcase his pace and unlap these guys, if he's making the the broadcast move and just staying behind just to be in the shot of this, well knowing that this will be greatly documented on the stream.
Yeah, and I'm also keeping a third eye on what's happening up within the lead. Frans van der Linden has managed to get that gap down below 1 second, although still has a bit of work to do coming into the final 4 minutes. Just looking at their pace difference over the past couple of laps, and not really that much of a difference between the two of them. Only a couple of tenths.
On the right-hand screen, Blitzmas looking for the move. Blitzmas goes for the inside into Cubs and makes the move on Brooklyn. Brooklyn just does have the run on the outside of Brooklyn, but have to let go for track reasons. That's Blitzmas making the move. The silver driver makes the move 1 position further up. Not that it matters too much for him. Parker still behind wins in the other Belgium car, but that was a reasonable move from Blitzman there, making the move into Cubs corner.
Yeah, that Aston Martin didn't look very planted through Maggots and Beckett's, and he lost a lot of time behind Bilsma in that section. So probably a little bit of lack of grip there.
Could have had tire wear issues at the minute, though. A bit surprising in Silverstone if you have that this only after less than half an hour of driving. But bottom right hand screen now, that's the battle for the lead. Timo Sidek and Frans van der Linden have clawed his way back into this race. Good drive from van der Linden, as Steve Parker's actually trying to set up a move now down the Wellington Straight. Meanwhile, we have the battle for the lead coming down the Hangar Straight. Steve Parker looking for the inside here, showing himself not tucking into the slipstream that early on the straight. That might have been the mistake that seals his fate coming into to the Brooklyn corner. Different lines. Battle for 12 in the bottom right hand, Chris. That's not correct. Could you change that to first, please? as Sidek still leads van der Linden in the battle for the first position in the race, Chris. That's closer enough.
Yeah,
STH, that we know what you mean, at least.
It looks like Frans van der Linden made a bit of a mistake there and has dropped back considerably. That gap's now suddenly extended to 1.4 with less than 2 minutes. I think Frans is going to have to put in the lap of a lifetime to try and bring that fight back to Timo. So
I think Frans was pushing for the lap of the lifetime when he was attacking Timo for the win of this mighty 1 hour race around Silverstone. As Timo will get the white flag this time around, it doesn't seem like Parker will get close enough. This will be desperation time for Steve Parker's well aware of the time remaining in the race. When Sidek crosses the line, start finish, and Parker on the inside there makes contact with Wouter Wins, backs out of it once again, being good sportsman, but he does seem to try the move directly after
He
the
is
next
going to try
straight.
the cutback.
Not entirely sure how the stewards will look on that you make the contact and then make the move directly after, but he is ahead at this point of the race. Wouter Wins will have to fall in behind. Could come for the for the move once again, trying to get back onto the podium of the the AM class. This is way too tense for me at the minute. Talking in behind, it's all about the exit now, and the first 10th is still on the screen that Chris just realized. We can hear him say some naughty words in the background. Andy King tucking into the slipstream, not that it matters, as it looks like he'll stay behind this battle, just enjoying the show. Wouter Wins looking for the move on Steve Parker. He will have to stay very close throughout the next lap. Interesting to see if he can get a move done in that Lexus.
And we are going to have another lap looking at where then the leader is. The leader is only just coming up to club now. So these guys are going to have another lap. Steve is going to, Wouter Wins is going to have another lap to try and get back onto the back of Steve Parker. And try and get that move back.
Parker makes a mistake through cups, and now he comes. This is the time if you want to go side by side through Maggots and Biggers. This is when you want to do it. Wouter Wins makes a move on the final lap. Good move from Wins in the Lexus, moving back ahead of Steve Parker for the third and final spot of the AM podium in this race. I think that Andy King is sitting there behind, enjoying this even more than we are, Sam.
Probably just fingers crossed, hoping that nobody crashes into him.
Probably, or he's just crossing his finger for action. That will happen, but Parker will definitely be on this one from this point on in the race. Sidek actually seems to have been cut by Van Linden a bit, but that doesn't matter. Sidek are on the start-finish straight now and will cross the line now to take first position. Timo Sidek wins the race ahead of Frans Van Linden. Johan Planers, after a bad qualifying, starting in P10 for 9th, I believe it was, gets the podium position, but enough of that. As we go back to the battle between Steve Parker and Wouter Wins, they have been on it for quite some time in this race.
And Andy King doing a little bit of rallycross there, cutting the corner.
I just think that he's doing everything he can to he's definitely looking at
this
battle behind, but
yeah,
he's trying not to get up there and interfere with this one. Steve Parker, this will probably be his final chance to make the move. He's a bit too far away, I would say, for the move into Brooklyn. He could make this the launch of a century, though that could be a little bit tricky to defend after the race in terms of these two drivers talking together. But yeah, unfortunate for Steve Parker. I really wish that he will get a good result in the final race and take a podium at least for him. But Wouter Wins does a great defensive drive here, and then we can take nothing away from his performance this evening, this European evening. Wouter Wins finishes the AM class in 3rd position. We haven't even done a rundown through the positions yet, Sam.
No, this battle just giving us too much to concentrate on. I'm just going to quickly jot down our finishing positions.
Wow, this was a race and a half, I must say. I'm really glad I made it here in time for the race, because this has been one of the more action-filled races we've seen so far. Maybe not in terms of overall battling, but the battle between Wouter Wins and Steve Parker. Oh dearie me, what a battle. And what a drama we got to see here. I'm just speaking a little bit now as Sam is sorting stuff in the background, so you have to enjoy my my voice that have been a little bit harassed by the weekend's endurance events and some terrible weather today. So
okay, I'm back.
If I sound a little bit wrong and don't have the breath for speaking this much, then it's because of that. And Sam is back, so I can maybe have a little bit of a briefer now.
Right, so hopefully we will have some drivers come into the interview room so we can have a bit of a chat. But quite a exciting finish to the race. One of the downsides that I find of Silverstone is that when you have these smaller grids, races like this do tend to spread out and limits the amount of action that we have on track. But really great racing there towards the end. I agree with Sam that slide from Steve Parker, just the worst timing. Really unfortunate. Really feel sorry for Steve Parker at the minute, missing out on that podium slot by just that one mistake. Had a fantastic drive up until that point. But with this being the penultimate round, there is still going to be lots to fight for in the next coming into the final round at Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. There's definitely still going to be places to fight for once the positions from this evening have been finalized, after all of our stewards have finished going through all of the footage. Then we'll be able to work out whether any positions have been clinched. But with how close the positions are, the points are at the minute, I don't think anything will be locked out coming into the next round, as we're joined by Frans van der Linden, our P2 driver in silver. How was the race for you, Frans? Well, first of all, good evening.
Good evening.
And give us a rundown on the race from your perspective.
Well, it's not too bad. I'm actually very happy with the result. I did not expect to be the top 2, exactly. I messed up my pit stop a little bit. Cost me something like 2-3 seconds, and that makes Mr. Zajtek came before me when I came out of the pit. And then I was just chasing him. I could catch him a little bit. At first I was, I think, something like 3-4 seconds ahead of me, and I came in my rhythm again after the pit stop, and then I could catch him, but it was still every time 1 second, 0.9, 0.8, and then I make a small mistake. So yeah, that's the whole story, but still very glad, because last time you asked me what you expect for Silverstone, because I was second also at Watkins Glen.
Yep.
But I did expect rain, so and I had a very good rain setup, but this also worked, so.
Yeah. So when was your setup a little bit compromised then? The fact that we didn't have any rain.
No. I always take a dry setup, and then I change the traction control and the ABS and the tires just for the rain. But I adjust a little bit the height to compromise it. But those guys are always way faster than I am, so I can't complain. And I think it's his first name, Andy King. I think he had a disconnect because he was in front of me when I go into the pit, and then I saw him disappear.
And poor Andy had a power failure.
A power failure? Oh boy.
Yes.
Yeah. You always need a spare Accu next to you, huh? So, yeah. So no, but otherwise I would have to be third or fourth. So this is a surprise for me, and a little present again. Yeah.
So with the final race at Suzuka, I know Suzuka is a track that drivers either really love or really hate. Which camp do you fall into?
I love it.
You love it.
Yeah, I did not. I don't know the weather predictions yet. But I hope it's dry, and I don't know the time where it's driven it. Would it be in sunset or evening or something like that? So no, but I like Suzuka is one of my favorites. Yeah.
Okay, so we're definitely looking forward to seeing how you do out for then the final round. Have you enjoyed the season so far?
Yeah, I had to skip one race if I'm correct. But you can drop one race, so that is my drop race. So, yeah, so I don't miss anything out of points. But I'm not aiming to come into tier 1 because those guys are so much faster. So that ain't fun to drive last around in the back
Okay.
to where the red lantern. So tier 2 is good for me.
Good. Well, thank you very much for joining us for an interview and giving us some great racing this evening. Have enjoy your P2 position, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time for the final round at Suzuka.
Yeah, we will do, and thank you, and congrats again to SciTech. And I thought third was, and
Johan Blanas.
oh, so Aaron van Drunen was not third. That's disconnection also.
Disconnected.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a shame. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Very,
Well-
very unfortunate.
Okay. Well, see you next time. Maybe.
Okay. All right, then. Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Friends, thank you very much.
See you around. Cheers.
Okay, so let's jump over to Frank Hopp,
Hi.
our winner in AM class. Frank,
Yeah.
so I know that you spent quite a considerable amount of your weekend running laps around Kyalami.
I?
So how much practice did you actually manage to get in before this race tonight?
Well, not even that much, I think. No, just some decent amounts to sort of get my setup right. But actually, in the weekend, I hardly did any laps. I think I was more busy with the 24 hours than anything else. And I didn't.
That's kind of yeah.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned in the chat somewhere also that I just didn't. It's the end. It's starting to get the end of the season, so I'm a bit lackluster in my practice.
Okay.
So yeah, no, but enough to sort of feel comfortable with the car. Just driving, yeah, my race as well. I had a good start. Was in the lucky line, I guess, on the inside. And then I think in one action where Wouter, I think, dive bombed in lap 1 by accident, I guess. Yeah, but that's but then yeah. Sorry, but then yeah. So that then I had a like a 1.8 second gap or so, and that sort of stayed the same. And then they started to fight behind me. And I could just sort of extend my lead a bit while sort of conserving the tires. I had a very easy race in this way. So I had I think I had some flat spots on the rear tires because I did one 4-wheel slide or something that the car wasn't happy with. But all in all, a really nice race. I thought I messed up my pit stop quite a bit because I overshot my my spot. So I lost quite a bit of time there, but then I still was in the lead quite a bit. So yeah, don't know what happened to the other guys there.
Okay.
But, yeah, nice race. Not trying to overtake again like last time. That seems to work for me. Whenever I try to do it, I crash. So just let people pass, and yeah, that was actually quite good and worked for me. So yeah,
Excellent.
nice.
So, with the expectation for this race being that it was going to be a wet race, was your setup slightly compromised at all, or were you running mostly a dry setup?
I was running mostly a dry setup when I did practice, because the practice was wet as well. Then I did my dry setup, but with a lower ride height on the rear and a bit more extra toe in the rear. And then that felt quite stable. I was actually quite quick in the rain,
Okay.
but I preferred to have it dry.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there.
But it's no, but it would have been okay, I guess. But it's yeah, I just like dry racing a bit better. Although usually I'm doing okay in the rain. So.
And with the final round out coming at Suzuka, is Suzuka a track that you enjoy driving in?
Yeah, sort of in two ways. When you have a setup that sort of works there, it's nice, but there are a couple of really tricky corners, and if your car starts to slide there, you're gone. I also think there are a couple of points where it's easy to make contact.
Yeah.
With someone, so that's going to be an issue perhaps. But we'll see. I don't mind the track, so there are a couple of tracks perhaps that I don't really like. But in the end, most of the tracks are okay. Once you get to know them a bit and you have a setup that you like, then everything's fine, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
So looking forward. So
No, go ahead.
now I'm looking forward to the race. And just finishing up this season, and it's been going amazing. So
Yeah, I've got to say you've had an absolutely fantastic season this year. Four wins out of 6 rounds. So really, really good to see, and I'd love to see how much you've improved. So certainly since I've been racing with you. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing you out at Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. And
Okay,
thank you for joining us.
okay, thanks a lot. Bye.
All right, so let's jump back over to our silver class and Timo Zidek, our winner this evening. Good evening, Timo. How are you?
Oh, it was a very sweaty race, not gonna lie.
Okay, so give us your perspective.
Well, the qualifying was bad, but the start was kinda good. Lost the car though at the start in the what was it? Third corner, I think. Gone off track. Well, had the collision in lap 2. I don't know if we'll get a penalty for that again in the end. So let's see, but the rest was pretty clean, and I was kind of surprised by my pace. I thought I'd be a bit slower.
Okay, and this puts you in a very, very good position going into the final race. Coming in to tonight's race, you were in P2, being 4 points behind Sebastian. Obviously, you had outfinished Sebastian this evening, and with the drop rounds, you're going to be in quite a good position going into the final round and at Suzuka. Is that going to be playing on your mind at all, or are you just going to concentrate on just doing the race?
I mean, Suzuka is one of my best tracks, so I'm quite confident.
Excellent. Love to hear it. Are you concerned at all possibly about the weather at Suzuka? So then do you enjoy it regardless of whether it's wet or dry?
Ooh. I mean, I'm quite good in rain, so I don't mind some rain. So
So basically, you're looking forward to Suzuka either way.
yeah.
Excellent. So when were you? I'm assuming you were aware of Andy King's disconnect in front of you. What were your thoughts in the car when that happened?
I mean, he was faster, so I think he would have won the race. I was like, I don't deserve this race win, but I will take it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, giving us some fantastic racing then this evening, and we definitely look forward to seeing what you can do at Suzuka in 2 weeks' time.
Oh yeah, it will be fun. I hope.
Great. Thank you very much. Right, so still got a couple of other interviews to go for. I'm just going to quickly jump over to Router Vince. Came in 3rd place in our AM class. Good evening, Router. How was the race for you?
Good morning. Well, I enjoyed it, I must say. I had quite some fierce battles, quite some contacts as well. That was a bit less, but in the end, it was fun battling Arjan and Steve, and also Yes7 Real. Pity he had a disconnect. But yeah,
Yep.
I think it's the race so far I enjoyed the most.
So I've I've got to ask, what prompted you to take the Lexus?
Well, I drove it last season and it got me champion in M. So I thought, well, choice is okay, but I'm not sure. Is it since the update, the 1.9, the Lexus seems a tad slower. It's still fun to drive, but I've been practicing also with another car like the new McLaren, and yeah, it showed clearly that I'm lacking pace in the Lexus. So yeah, had I known it before, I might have gotten a different choice. But on the other hand, my results so far are quite okay in the Lexus, even if it's a bit of a crappy car at the moment. So I'm still enjoying it, and it's just a sexy car as well. So
I've completely and totally agree with you there. Yeah. Any recommendations for anyone thinking about bringing the Lexus out of retirement? I do know of one.
oh, it would be great. I've seen that in real life it's still driving, and I think there's a team doing even tests for next year. So it would be great if Kunas did some updates, but I doubt it really. So I would say if you like the car, if you like the engine sound, just take the car. But if it's really to be competitive, yeah, it's not out there anymore, sadly.
No. So within the final round at Suzuka, I know this is a track that drivers either love or hate. Which one are you?
Oh, quite like it. I did the 24 hours last year in the Audi. It was quite a bit challenge in the rain, but in general, it's a fun track. So yeah, it's okay.
Excellent. And then, are you keeping an eye on the championship positions, or are you just taking one race at a time?
Well, it would be great if I can keep P2 on the end, but it all depends on how the car will perform. If I got a bit of luck, and what Arjen will do next race, because it's quite close, I saw. So P1, that's not possible anymore, I think. But so yeah, I'm looking one at a time, but I'm starting without expectations, but any result would be great. So I'm not gonna lie, if I get P3 in the end in the championship, I will be fed up for a very brief time. So
Right. Well, we will certainly keep an eye on that for the next round out. Thank you for giving us some great racing this evening and for joining us for an interview. And
no problem.
we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time.
All right, until next week. A bit 2 weeks, fortnight. Ciao.
Ciao. Right. Aaron van der Linden. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello.
Taking P2 in the AM class this evening. Give us your perspective on your race tonight.
It was like Wouter said, it was a very intense battle. It was Steve before the pit stop, and after the pit stop, it was battling with Wouter, and it was also again what Wouter said. It was the best race of the season, definitely in terms of intensity and fun. So it was really cool.
Good. And were you hoping for rain this evening, or are you glad that it stayed clear?
Well, no. I think the dry weather was suited me better. I must say, this is actually my first time that I really liked Silverstone. It's not really my track. Normally, I don't really enjoy it. I spin a lot, whatever. But this is the first time I actually was really able to enjoy it during the race. So I think the dry is okay for me. Yeah.
Good. And what are your expectations for Suzuka? Do you normally go well at Suzuka, or are you not quite looking forward to it?
I'm not sure if this is a good thing to say, especially with my competitors like Wouter around me, because we're very close. But to be honest, I'm not that good at Suzuka. Well, I don't have much experience there, so I really gonna need to practice because it's gonna be a battle. So for the audience, I'm great at Suzuka, really.
Well, we hope that you get plenty of practice in, and we look forward to seeing how that practice pans out for you. Are you paying any attention to the championship standings, or are you just taking it race at a time?
No, I was looking at the championship standings because there was 2 races ago that Frank, Wouter, and myself were at the same points. but my last race at Watkins was not so good, so I lost it there. But maybe Wouter and I, we can maybe both have a nice finish last battle, and we'll see who comes up first or second in this case.
Fantastic. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us then this evening, and look forward to seeing you out in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
You too. And last but not least, we have been joined by Andy King. Good evening, Andy. Do I dare ask how you're feeling now? Andy, are you still with us? I saw him go on mute and back off. Andy, can you hear me? Oh.
Hello? Ah, there we go.
There we are, Andy!
Oh, I don't know what happened there.
That's well.
That wasn't my internet, that was Discord, I think.
Oh, so painful question to ask, but what were your feelings in the cockpit? I understand that you had a power failure just before qualifying or in the early stages of qualifying, and then to also have the same thing happen during the race. I've got to ask how you're feeling.
Yeah, so we have a weird thing in our little street where every 6 months somebody's house alarm goes off and it just disconnects the whole street's internet connection and wipes out all their electric. So we had a complete blackout probably 2 minutes before qualifying.
Nice.
We probably need to get an electrician to look at that in fairness, but I don't know whose house it is. Qualified, obviously put it on pole, and then probably halfway into the race something happened again. It wasn't the same thing. The internet just had a blip and just booted me out, and
okay.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I thought I'd rejoin, get a few more, get the extra little bit of points that are, I don't know what difference they really make. But yeah, this season's not been the one for me so far. It's been good, but some unforeseen circumstances have made things a little bit challenging.
Yeah, it seems like when you've been on it's been just fantastic and absolutely amazing to watch. But you have had your share of bad luck this season, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean Watkins was a bit of a weird one. I think what happened at Watkins was my wheel crashed, but then it did an update and rejoined, and obviously started at the back of the grid. And then yeah, this one was something again completely out of my control. But you know, it is what it is, and congratulations to the winners. But yeah, it was it's been interesting, that's for sure.
And it has, yeah. But something that I said during the stream when it happened, the fact that you came back into the server and continued to race, and is just a testament to you as a sportsman, and I think to this community and as a whole. So I just wanted to thank you for and just actually coming back and driving and just giving us some great racing. So certainly from me and Chris, thank you for coming back and just continuing to race. So
yeah, I quite enjoyed sitting behind. I think it was Steve Parker and somebody else towards the end. I didn't want to overtake him though, battling for P10. Although I was right at the back and a couple of laps down, I just sat behind them and let them battle, and it was quite nice to watch it actually. It was a good little battle. So yeah, thought I'd come back, and luckily my internet come back on and get whatever points I can redeem. But yeah, tough race, but good game to the winners.
Excellent. And what can we expect from you from Suzuka? Obviously, assuming you're, and all of the technical gremlins are done and dusted for the season. Do you like Suzuka?
Absolutely not.
Oh,
no, it's probably my worst track on the calendar.
You know what? I completely agree with you. I hate the track as well. So
yeah,
we can hate it together.
I'll be at the back somewhere, I imagine, for Suzuka. It is not my cup of tea, really. I just don't get on with the really fast changes of directions. I like long swooping corners, which is what Silverstone is really, apart from Maggots and Beckett's. But yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, for jumping in and having a bit of a chat with us. And we look forward to seeing how you manage Suzuka in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Great. Thank you very much, Andy. Right. I'm not overly sure what happened to Oliver when we lost him in the middle of interviews there. So it is just myself and Chris. If he gets
Yeah, you've
his,
got me. You've got me here. I'm live.
You're live and
I'm here live as well, so that's always good.
that's good. Yep. So yeah, the next round, end of the season. And it's been an exciting one, hasn't it?
It certainly has, and it's come quick.
It has.
It does seem 7 races, well, with 6 races down, with the 7th race in 2 weeks' time, have just absolutely flown by. I think it's mainly down to the fact that we've got a race every 2 weeks with each tier, and the racing's been enjoyable, not a drag. No pun there, because I know you're a fan of drag racing.
I love my drag racing. Yeah.
But yeah, it's going very well, I think.
Yeah, and one of the really refreshing things about certainly this this particular season of this championship is that we don't have a runaway winner taking every single round like we have in the past. It's we're coming into the final round and it's still close enough that it's anyone's game. So and I think that's one of the things that's made it really interesting, and especially in the silver class. We have had 5 winners for 6 rounds, which and I can't remember the last SSRI season where we've had that. So I think that's one of the things that's definitely helped for keeping the excitement up. But as we heard from a lot of our drivers in the interviews this evening, very, very mixed bag as to who's looking forward to Suzuka and who isn't. It's definitely one of those polarizing tracks. But just before we sign off, I'm just going to go through the what you can expect from us at SSRI over the coming weeks, heading into the tail end of this racing season. So next week on the 21st, we have our Tier 1 round from Silverstone, where our pro and semi-pro guys will be out taking on the legendary Northamptonshire circuit. And then on November 24th, we have a race room event coming from Valor Brennan. I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing that track name correctly. And then we come into our final, our season finale for the GT3 season of Tier 2 on the 28th and Tier 1 on December 5th, live from Suzuka to determine who the championship winners are from this season of SSRI. Then we have our final race room event coming on December 7th at Mantorp. And then we finish out the racing season for the winter with our endurance championship finale. Now, obviously, that championship was sewn up at Kyalami last weekend, or this weekend past, by Team RNE. But we have the 6 hours of Watkins Glen coming up on December 9th to round out the season. So lots and lots of racing still coming up for you in the next couple of weeks. So make sure that you are that you like and subscribe to the channel. Be sure that you've clicked that bell icon so that you get notified before we go live for all of our races. And from myself, Oliver, and the lovely Chris Hill, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the racing this evening, and we will see you all back on in YouTube land next week.
Good. Goodbye, everybody.